Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello everyone, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction and haunted entertainment industry. Whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. And I apparently am your squeaky voice host this week. Jonathan, as I flub the intro some way, as I always do. I have to mess it up a little bit. Otherwise, as you said, they might think we're pre-recording these. Yeah. And I'm not making you sit through it every time. They must feel your pain. I know. But yes, this is indeed Haunt Weekly, and take a moment, if you have not already, and find us on Facebook and Twitter at Haunt Weekly. You can find us at our website at hauntweekly.com, and tinyurl.com/hauntweekly is our YouTube channel. There you find all the past episodes and catch up on anything you might have missed, if that is the more convenient way to listen for you. But yes, once again, we are back, and we have kind of an extension of last week's topic.
Right.
We talked about how last week some of our budget saving tips.
Yeah.
And yes, we get it. A lot of you guys have much larger security systems. We get it, okay?
Yeah.
That was more targeted at smaller attractions. Because, look, we've gone out and bought the professional ones and gotten screwed.
Yeah.
Trust me. If you need it, get it. As we said. But anyways, long story short, but we want to do an extension of that because in addition to our love of haunted attractions, we also love budget horror, low-budget horror. We call them garbage horrors, we call them cheesy horrors, but the truth is a lot of these films are actually really good. Mm-hmm. And the thing about it is we've watched hundreds of these films. We literally have, this is true, downstairs in our living room, we have 2.5 bookshelves dedicated to DVDs of these.
Right.
If it has been distributed on a $5 pack at Walmart, we probably have it. Mm-hmm. So yes, we love these films and we've watched a ton of them. And like I said, some of them are actually pretty good. And so we were watching some more. In fact, we were going through the Reanimator series this weekend. And we were discussing how some of these films managed to be good despite their budget. And what can haunts learn from that? Yeah. So we decided to do an episode of it, sort of an extension of what we did last week.
And also a place to find inspiration from the episode a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so exactly.
It all ties in.
A continuation of the conversation is everyone likes saving money and everyone likes having a good haunt.
Yes. And since this is our topic, we will want your favorite bad movies in the comments.
Yeah, your favorite low-budget, quote-unquote bad movies in the comments. And if any of you say the Blair Witch Project, I will personally ban you from the site.
We won't do that.
Okay, I won't.
We want the numbers.
I've been banned from banning. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough. But anyways, first things first, conference reminders. It is an odd week. Crystal, you are the oddball. Go for it.
All right. June 22nd through the 23rd, premiere Haunted Attractions Tour and Education Series in Ulster Park, New York at the Super 8 Kingston.
Not the regular 8, the Super 8.
Exactly. That's with the glasses off, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
All right. So they will be touring the Headless Horseman and all 7 of its attractions. The full itinerary is still TBA, but it is premierhaunttour.com, that's with 2 T's, whenever it becomes available.
Getting up against the wire on this one, guys. But anyway, Southeast Halloween Enthusiast Convention, July 14th and 15th in Ocala, Florida, at 2300 Southwest 17th Road in Ocala, featuring a Ghost Walk tour and a costume ball. More details at schec.com, sahec.com, if you will.
Exactly. All right, July 27th through the 29th, it's Room Escape Conference and Tour in Nashville, Tennessee, at the Music City Center. Touring up to 8 different escape games, 2 tours of 4. Pick carefully.
Yeah, you gotta pick in advance.
Yeah.
You get 4, you're gonna go on 4, but you get to pick which 4.
Yeah, it includes Extreme Escape Games, Live Minds Adventure Escape, Escape Point, and Locked Murfreesboro. RoomEscapeShow.com for more on that.
I think that'd be very interesting to have, like, one of us go on the A tour and one go on the B tour and, like, meet up at the end of the night and discuss what all happened.
Yeah, and hope that we get put with, capable people.
I've got to say, when we did the escape game at Halloween and Haunt Fest, I felt very good about our crew. We had a very good team, and we won it without any real drama.
No.
So I think when you go with haunters and room escape enthusiasts, you're kind of going with the best you can go with.
Probably, especially the best cold pack to go with.
Exactly.
And untested.
Yeah, exactly. If I've got to go with a group of random strangers, that's my group.
I agree.
All right. Okay, coming up after that, July 28th and the 29th in Long Beach, California. It is Midsummer Scream, Eek. At the Long Beach Convention Center will feature dozens of on-site haunted attractions as part of their largest Hall of Shadows in their history. There will also be a Screaming Room Film Festival. Learn all the details at midsummerscream.org.
Mm-hmm. Then July 30th, Seasonal Attraction Leadership Symposium 2018 in Long Beach, California.
The day after, yes.
Yes. Right after, the Queen Mary Hotel by Haunted Attractions Network, aka Gantum Media. 6 keynotes with following discussions. Speakers are TBA, but whenever they become available, you can find out at hauntedattractionnetwork.com.
All right. Then August 5th through the 6th in Los Angeles, California, it's Scare LA, the Los Angeles Convention Center. West Halls, don't go to the East Halls. You'll be disappointed. It's in the West Halls. Mm-hmm. It will feature Scarywood, a 60,000 square foot attraction of mini haunts.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It also features Float, an It-themed cinematic VR experience, a film festival, and a costume ball. ScareLA.com for more.
All right, and finally this week, August 16th through the 19th, it's Halloween and Haunt Fest in Mesquite, Texas, near Dallas, at the Mesquite Convention Center. It features a Haunters Mixer and Zombie Paintball Hunt, a costume ball, and a movie night. Additional info will be available on their website, which is halloweenandhaunt.com.
Yeah, I was just on their Facebook page this morning through sheer happenstance, and they are also going to be touring as part of their haunt tour lineup, the Munsters Mansion.
Yes.
Which looks like a lot of fun. So, a lot of cool stuff happening there. Well, all right. That gets us through the conference reminders and kills 10 minutes of this podcast.
Yes.
But yeah, low-budget horror films. Mm-hmm. We actually got our start when it comes to reviewing and doing haunty stuff, reviewing exactly these films.
Yes.
GarbageHorror.com, if you want to see some of our old reviews, please judge kindly. I'd like to say we've gotten a little better.
Yeah.
But anyways, we had a lot of fun doing those. And because we are true fans of that medium, and it's like I said, we've watched hundreds and hundreds of these films. And when we were doing Garbage Horror, we set kind of a rule in which it had to have a budget that pretty much we could afford.
Well, yeah, it was definitely not big blockbuster.
We did it. There were a few exceptions we did to that.
Right.
But long story short, most of them were in range. If we maxed out our credit cards, we could, get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, look, I forgot to open my drink before we start talking, so there you go. You get to hear me open a Diet Dr. Pepper. Entertainment at its finest, folks.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was our idea of this. Super low-budget films. Like we max out our credit cards, maybe in some cases remortgage the house, or whatever. We could afford to make these. Mm-hmm. And we love these films because they are such a personal expression.
Right.
Like, we've seen, like, movies like Zombievers and so forth that try to replicate it through the studio system.
Yeah.
And it never works. And you pass it through the focus groups, you pass it through the executives, and it goes through all these hands. It kind of becomes homogenized in a very bizarre way. It becomes safer somehow.
Right.
Where these movies typically are just one or two people's wackadoodle vision.
Yeah.
And god damn it, they're going to put it on film, which is kind of like how haunts happen.
Yeah.
It's a small group of people with a wackadoodle vision working to make it happen.
Exactly.
So it's a lot in common spiritually here, I find. Yeah. But yeah, the whole point of it, though, is that these movies very often are not good.
Yeah.
Many of these films have been truly unwatchable.
Yeah. Yes.
Looking at you, Dr. Humpenstein.
I'm looking at you, Mulva.
Oh, God.
Because And there's only been one movie that we haven't been able to get through.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanksgiving 3.
Yes.
Not even finished.
Thanksgiving, we recommend. That was a lot of fun. Thanksgiving 3, something went astray.
I don't know what went wrong between that and the first and the sequel, but they lost the plot.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, there's definitely a bell curve when it comes to good, bad movies,
right.
so to speak. And we like to talk about the uncanny mountain of bad movies, because basically if a film is too bad, it drifts into unwatchable.
Yeah.
And if it's too good, it just becomes a not good film.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't become a good bad film, so to speak.
Right.
And like if you're looking at the review scores, like movies in that 2 to 3 range sometimes sort of hit the peak of the mountain, I find.
Yeah.
The 1s are completely unwatchable, and 4s are just like it could have been a better movie, you know?
Yeah.
And 10s are, of course, completely entertaining masterpieces of modern cinema that everyone should watch, and we're not into that.
Yes, no good movies here.
No. Never. But yes, anyways, so yeah, we talked about in episode 106 and also a little bit in the previous episode about about the question of budget haunting.
Right.
And in 106 we addressed the question, can there be such thing as a low budget haunt?
Right.
That's good. And we concluded there could be, pretty much.
Oh, I thought your conclusion was, no, there couldn't be.
Well...
And then it was kind of iffy.
I think it is kind of iffy, but I think the possibility is there. The more I've thought about it since, I think the possibility is there.
Yeah.
But it's going to have to be something that's done with a lot of creativity. And I think one of the places to look is to look at the low-budget films that have worked.
Right.
And see what we can pull from that.
Yeah.
And that's how we got started on this topic, exactly.
Yes.
Now, so what we've been doing is we've been going through and talking about films that were in this low-budget category that we enjoyed.
Right.
They kind of hit with us and worked with us in one way or another. To name a couple off the top of our head... see, you have Bachelor Party in the Bungalow with the Damned, which was actually a pretty damn good classic horror slasher-style film. It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To, which was put together by some people from the Savini School.
Right. And
shot on like a $5,000 budget on the high end.
100 Tears, I really enjoyed.
Yes.
And we'll get to characters in a minute. I want to talk about him.
Yeah. But yeah, you have all these films, and I know a lot of these are films that you guys might not know or have heard of, but these are films that actually worked well as movies. They told a story, they entertained, they got a few good scares in some cases, they elicited reactions, and they stuck in our memory. I don't think we've watched even any of those films we just mentioned in like 6 years.
No. And I have to put on my favorites list also Retarded. Because I love the ending to that movie. That ending is awesome. Yeah,
speaking of film, we'll get to that in a minute too, but yeah. So we went back and we started looking at what these films had in common and discussing it. And one of the most obvious things that leapt out was the heavy use of practical effects.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys aren't using the big high-tech stuff because they can't afford it.
They can't afford it. They don't have the skills to do it correctly, so to speak. And we've seen a lot of budget films that try to incorporate a lot of CGI and fail. Yeah,
After Effects can go very bad if you don't know what to do with them.
Yeah, it really can. And, you know, Zombie Baby, Biker Warrior Baby versus Zombie Babies is what I'm thinking of. Was a film that attempted to incorporate a lot of CGI into it. Yeah. But they didn't have the budget. They didn't have, what they needed to do it. And it didn't work. It just did not work well. And it's a pity because I love the director of it. He's a great guy. Yeah. But the film just did not come together for me. So yeah, we touched on this briefly with the previous episode when we said, if you're into budget haunting, you got to stay away from LCD panels and pneumatics and things. Or if you do use pneumatics in particular, keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. Don't get the complicated prop with 80,000 servos and cost you $5,000. Get some. You can do more with some ramrods, some rods, than you can with that. You know what I mean? You can do a lot more with very simple pistons. But yeah, most budget horror films use practical effects exclusively. The ones that work and the ones that stick. Right. Because digital effects are simply too expensive, too time-consuming, and too risky. And practical effects just age so much better.
No kidding.
And here, I don't want to, crap all over The Last Starfighter. It is a great movie. It is an absolutely great movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. Actually, one of my favorite standalone sci-fi movies of all time. I loved it as a kid. It came out when I was 4 years old. I remember this film very well. And I remember in 1984 being totally wowed by the awesome computer effects, dude.
Right.
The amazing 3D graphics this film had. Go back and watch it. Do it. Dare ya. Dare ya. Do it. See how well they hold up in 2018. Not so good. Now, that same year, it turns out, and I did not realize this, 1984 was a baller year for haunting. I mean, for horror movies, rather.
Yeah.
Because it was the year Nightmare on Elm Street came out, Gremlins came out.
Yeah.
And they both had amazing practical effects that held up very well with time.
Yeah.
I mean, compare the two things.
Yeah, Gremlins is awesome.
And Gremlins was like mostly puppets.
Yeah.
It was basically...
There's nothing wrong with that.
It was basically glorified Muppets. But it looked good, it worked well, and it held up. It still holds up. You can watch Gremlins in 1984 and not get distracted by going, oh my god, they thought those effects were good.
Right. Exactly.
And here's the thing. That year was also when the original Toxic Avenger was released.
Right.
The Trauma classic Toxic Avenger. Even that film has some pretty good practical effects in it.
Yeah.
Done on a non-existent budget. I'm pretty sure the word budget wasn't even discussed in the making of the film.
Right.
Yeah. Budget, what's that? We just pull a few random dollars out of our pocket and throw it at what we have to.
Yeah.
Maybe Don't Watch Monster Dog, which was also released that year for this conversation on good practical effects. I'm just saying that one had Alice Cooper and not much else going for it. But yeah, the effects of The Last Starfighter look dated today.
Right.
The story, like I said, holds up well. Acting holds up well. Everything, and the practical effects within The Last Starfighter hold up well. The makeup and the alien costumes look great. They hold up well. It's the CGI components that look like garbage.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, if your practical effects hold up better, that means you don't have to replace them as often. You don't have to keep changing them out and updating them.
Right.
It just looks and works better over a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And if you do want to use high-tech effects, like I said, the pneumatics or LCD panels, make them mostly invisible. Most of the CGI you see in films, you don't actually see in films. It's used in like Mad Max. There's a really great, I'll have to see if I can find it, the scene before CGI where you see the car, the actual cars driving through the desert, but they used CGI to put in more into the scene to fill it out more. You wouldn't have even noticed it. You know, if you hadn't had that side-by-side comparison, because it wasn't the focal point of the action.
Right.
You know, don't make your high-tech effects what people are just staring at.
Right. Don't make it the center of your
attention.
Yeah, don't make it the star.
Yeah, don't make it the star.
Make it a supporting actor.
Exactly. Which is how it should be used anyway, honestly. But there are those haunts that have a wall of LCD panels. You have to sit there and watch the animations, and I get frustrated and sad when I see that.
Me too.
But yeah, the long story short is practical effects. I know there's this huge temptation in the industry right now to do more digital stuff, to be more Disney-esque is the term I keep hearing.
Right.
Don't give in.
Yeah. The customers want it, though. But some of us don't.
And that's just it. I don't know if the customers really do want it, per se. Because here's the thing. If it causes ticket prices to go through the roof, if it causes other problems, it slows down the haunt and therefore lines get longer.
Yeah.
You can create as many problems as you can solve by meeting that quote-unquote desire that may only be a small percentage of your audience.
Yeah.
So something to think about. Okay, item 2 that we noticed as we went through this list, they all were very, very smart about their sets.
Yeah.
Very smart about their sets. Pretty much without fail. Every one of these was bloody brilliant with how they did their sets. And we talked last time about how when you're building your haunt, it's cheaper to build a house or a laboratory than it is to build a forest. Right. And that's a good budget-saving tip. But most low-budget horror films do exactly this same thing. Right. They keep it stupid simple. They either work with what's around them. Yeah. They find an abandoned building and shoot at that. They find some woods nearby that look good and they shoot in that. Or they find something they can build and work with very easily.
Yeah.
And like one of my favorite examples of a film that used sets really well was Bachelor Party: The Bungalow of the Damned. Because that one, the entire film outside of I think like 20 minutes in the opening was shot in one house.
Yeah. Exactly.
It all took place. It was a very nice house.
Well, and that's what a lot of these do. And usually it's not even a full house.
No.
It's like one room.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe the outside areas.
Yeah. And that's just it. You know, by working within a smaller number of spaces, it's cheaper and easier to build and work with, but you also can hone it and perfect it easier.
Right.
If you're constantly throwing different things at yourself in terms of, you know, construction jobs, it gets very, very difficult to perfect anything.
Right. You're going to get overwhelmed, or there is a possibility to get overwhelmed and to not put in the detail and time that you want to in the whole thing.
Yeah. You know, learning to... I would much rather go through a haunt that has one overarching theme for its set and does it very, very well than a haunt that does a dozen themes and dozen sets very mediocrely or even bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, one of the suggestions I would find from that is minimize the locations per haunt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I know there's this tendency in some haunts to, you're in the laboratory, now you're in the swamp, now you're in the basement, now you're in, you know, a house.
Right.
Now you're in a voodoo shack, now you're in where you keep changing it up. You don't have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have the budget and the skill and the manpower to do that, feel free. Make it great.
Yeah.
But
and some haunts do. Some of the bigger haunts. I mean, like House of Shock locally and 13th Gate locally have both pulled it off pretty well.
Exactly.
But other haunts in the area, like Mortuary, which is a knockdown haunt, had to sort of work within what it had more.
Yes, it's more theme-based.
Yes.
Which, you
makes
know,
sense.
It makes a lot of sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense about the mortuary and what they do there, other than the circus year we won't talk about.
We do not discuss the Cirque de Feria.
Yes. Is that they've never actually done it as a mortuary. They're in a freaking mortuary.
It does seem like a bit of a gimme, doesn't it?
Yes.
But yeah, but you can do things like, for example, set a haunt in a mansion.
Right.
Your mansion can be your whole thing. You roam from room to room in the quote-unquote mansion, and everything can be similar, but you can avoid the sameness by mixing it up. Right. Here is a bedroom in the mansion. Here's the bathroom in the mansion. Here's a laboratory the weird owner set up in there.
Right.
Here's the kids' room. Here's, you know what I mean?
Here's the kitchen.
Yeah, you can do a lot within that one space to keep it mixed up and keep it going. You can even, like I said, you want to do a swamp or a voodoo theme, you can do that as well. You can do a lot of different things, and keep the variety strong, but yet keep most of the construction and a lot of the appearance the same.
Right.
And I find that adds some continuity and makes it a little more compelling at times. Mm-hmm. But also, it just helps with the construction. It makes it cheaper, makes it easier, and I think makes it higher quality.
Yeah. And if you build out those rooms, it's also easier to decorate it as a completely new thing the next year.
Yeah.
Because you already have the mainstays in place.
Exactly. So, yeah. All right. The next feature, and this is one I know we wanted to spend a minute on, creating compelling characters and stories.
Right. This
is, once again, going through this time and time again, we were able to remember the stories of all the films, at least the rough outlines.
Yeah.
And sometimes the stories were simple.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to have complicated stories. No, sometimes that hurts you.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes overthinking the story really, really does hurt you. But having one that's solid and engaging is still important. Like, for example, and I know I've mentioned it a few dozen times, where we have a bachelor party, the Bungalow of the Damned, the story is pretty simple.
Right.
Succubi are killing members of a bachelor party.
Yeah. That's easy enough.
That's easy enough. It's simple, it's straightforward, and they created their own little mythos around how it works and so forth and how to deal with it. But still, that's the overarching plot.
Yeah. And I would say that, you can actually get a good comparison of this at Rise.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at their asylum, it's a very straightforward story. Yep. It's well done. It's very engaging and entertaining. Yep. Now, their house is also very entertaining and well done, but the story...
I'm lost.
Yeah. We've talked to some of the people who work there, and they're like, oh, this means that. And I'm like, really? I didn't get that at all. you know?
Yeah, the Risewell Asylum is telling the story about evil experiments in an asylum.
Right.
Bingo, bango, bongo, we're done.
Yeah.
And then you're going in as a new patient, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And then the one for Rise, the haunted house, the big house, so to speak.
It was supposed to be the Risewell Asylum too, but there's not much asylum in it.
No.
So,
which makes sense now that you have the actual asylum.
Right.
And there was something about grave robbing and other elements of it.
Yeah, it's supposed to all tie together, but I've never gotten that. It's still fun, it's entertaining, but it doesn't make a full narrative for me.
Add that to the notes. We got to make sure to keep the story simple, too.
Yeah.
And all simple and compelling.
Yeah.
But crafting a simple and compelling story is free.
Right.
Free.
Yeah.
The best kind of value add. It's a free one. I know we drive this point home all the time, it seems.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Not everyone is going to invest the time to learn about the characters and stories.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen. But those that do will gain a lot. Their experience will benefit from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't cost you a dime.
Nope.
And also, it gives you something to do in the queue line, let's be honest. We're all looking for ways to entertain people in the queue line. We have our queue line actors. Mm-hmm. We have, the sets and the various things that you make them pass through in the queue line.
Right.
But long story short is, if you have a story to tell them, it's even easier.
Yeah. And here's one of the things about compelling characters. They don't have to be seen the entire time.
No.
And that's one of the things that these lower budget shows do very well, is that they build up the suspense to the reveal of the monster.
Yes.
And sometimes it's a really good reveal and the monster looks awesome, and sometimes it's not so great, and it was better that he was left to the imagination most of the time.
Baba Duke.
Yes. In 100 Tears, for instance, going back to that, the main killer is a clown.
Yes.
Does not say a word.
Yes.
There's not a word spoken. He's one of the most memorable characters that I've seen in one of these films. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoyed it, and I liked that he didn't talk.
Yeah.
So, and American Horror Story also had a killer clown who did not speak. So.
Yeah. And that's one of the things is you don't have to have them there. Like our main character, Bernie Baxter, is front and center. He's greeting you.
Right.
That's fine. That's a perfectly fine approach.
Yes. His character is a showman.
Yes. Yeah. But if he were actually the killer, so to speak,
right,
instead of just the guy who's buddy with all the killers,
right,
he's not really the villain. He's just friends with all the villains. And
he just knows them and can bring them to
bring them to life, and that as well. It's an interesting little thing. But the long and short of it is, if he were the killer, we would probably reserve him for maybe the final room in the haunt.
Yeah.
And I know, like, Terror on the Coast. Mm-hmm. They built up a killer.
Right.
And then they introduced him about the 3/4 mark of the haunt. And the payoff with that wasn't particularly good for us.
Right.
I don't know if other groups got a better experience with that, but he just kind of stood there for us. And looked menacing. And
yeah, well, I think part of that might have been the group that we were with, because we did have the young child with us. Well,
let's rephrase. He wasn't with us when we started. He ended up with us.
Yeah, we ran into their group.
We ran into their group, and he kind of latched onto us.
Yeah.
Because we weren't, I guess, flipping out over everything.
Yeah.
But low-budget films really do manage to pull this one off. The ones that stick, the ones that actually pull it out, do this one very well. They focus heavily on their writing, they focus on streamlining their story, and they focus on creating compellable, relatable characters.
Right.
A great line I'd heard some time ago, I can't remember who I heard say it, a well-written story can survive bad filmmaking. It doesn't work the other way around.
No.
Bad filmmaking cannot keep afloat a bad story.
No.
It does not work. There are plenty of instances of a great film being shot around a terrible story, and it just not working.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the way it is. So, if you can craft a good story and a good villain, and we talked about villain crafting back in episode 126, you can do a lot more with less here. You can build up a lot of anticipation.
Yes.
And basically give people something to latch onto, give them people to be afraid of, and give them an interesting little narrative when they go through. It's a big, big thing. It can be very, very useful. All right. So, going back through costumes. This was interesting looking at everything.
Right.
Because costumes were largely an afterthought in a lot of these films, it seemed.
Yeah, a lot of them, it looked like people just showed up in their regular street clothes and they were thrown into a movie.
There was two extremes, basically.
Yeah.
You either had characters who were, just like you said, they just showed up in whatever they were wearing. They were completely believable in whatever role they were in. They were background, they were furniture, or whatever. And then you have the really colorful, the really, the really clearly defined costumes that were outrageous and over the top and immediately recognizable.
Right, and that recognizable adds to the character.
Exactly. So yeah, basically, the costume either needs to be invisible or front and center.
Yeah.
And I think this works well in haunted attractions too. It doesn't pay dividends to spend hours working on the costume for zombie number 2 in your graveyard.
Right.
But it also doesn't pay to ignore the costume on your main character.
Right.
With our haunt, I think I had the most expensive costume character.
Definitely.
We've spent between the high-end mask, the multiple coats, the coats with tails, the undershirts, the shoes,
magic trick,
and the magic trick, the gloves, the canes. Dear God, how many canes do I go through a year? We've probably spent over $300 on my costume.
At least.
On a haunt where that is almost an entire year's budget.
I would say it's more than that.
But that's because he's a main named character. You have to put that kind of investment in him. Meanwhile, our mad scientist last year was literally just a lab coat and a guy who looked a little crazy before we got to him.
Yeah.
He didn't need a lot of makeup to look nuts. It's kind of funny that way. Just a little black around the eye and he was pretty much done.
Some blood on him, some goggles. Yeah. And he has the personality to fulfill that role.
He had it before he ever showed up for work. It was great.
Yeah.
It was so helpful to me. Oh, man. I love you, Dave, if you're listening to this. Oh, God. But, yeah. Now, I know this one isn't a low-budget film, but one that I think that we are familiar with that gets this really right is especially the House of a Thousand Corpses and The Devil's Rejects with the Rob Zombie horror films. You'll note that the people in that film that are not the main characters are just costumed very plainly. Yeah. Like, what was the first victim of House of a Thousand Corpses even wearing? Do you remember? No, you don't. But you can describe Captain Spaulding in great detail. Yeah. Yeah, because he's got a hell of a costume. And that's something that comes up over and over and over again is the makeup and the costume. Make it and put the detail in the people who matter and make it so they stand out. Right. Don't put all this time and detail into, a character just to have them blend in.
Yeah, that's just silly.
But we see this every once in a while. It's like, oh, this is our feature zombie. Right. So we're not going to do the 5-minute zombie makeup. We're going to do the hour zombie makeup. But they're going to effectively blend in with the rest of the zombies. Yeah. It
doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. If you're going to spend time costuming and making up a character, make sure it is immediately obvious that they are special and they stand out.
Yeah. So what are a few ways to do that? I can think of one off the top of my head.
Bright colors would be one.
Bright colors would be one. Making an entrance. I think the way that they come into a scene would get them special.
If they are inside the haunt, I think one distinction would be any speaking role. If they are talking and interacting with the people going through the haunt, that immediately makes them stand out. Right. Because most scare actors don't do that. They grunt, they groan, they hopefully don't say boo. Yeah. Otherwise, we have to, kill them or something, I think, legally now.
Yeah, go back and listen to the Japes.
Yeah, Japes covered all this in all those previous episodes. Don't say boo or gotcha or get out or move it or...
I think his rule is anything that can be pronounced.
Or spelled or...
Yeah.
Was, I think, the rule, but yeah. Good luck spelling that. Yeah, but don't say anything that can be spelled, I think was his exact rule. But yeah, spend your makeup efforts on the people that you want to actually stand out and make sure that effort goes to making them stand out.
Right.
That is something that I've seen here locally with a lot of haunts is they will put a lot of time and makeup into people that are just not in any way distinct or separate from the people around them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is the special clown in the clown room.
How do I know that?
How do I know he's the big dog and I'm supposed to be afraid of him? You didn't do anything to make him stand out more than these guys. Mm-hmm. They're all clowns.
Yeah.
If these clowns were all bright and colorful and look like clowns, and this one comes out in black with a scythe instead of something like that.
No, I know. I'm thinking of haunts that we've been to recently that had clown rooms.
Usually the 3D ones, because that's the thing.
Yeah, and there's nothing that stands out. There's no character that comes to mind. They're just all jumbled together. Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. Make sure that you, like I said, when you're doing your costuming and your making up, make sure you make up, the people that you want to put time in, and make sure that makeup and costume causes them to stand out.
Yeah.
And that's reasonable enough. All right, actors and acting in general. All right. When you're doing budget movies, you're probably not paying your actors, at least not up front. I know some movies will do this thing where they'll give you a cut of the after or whatever, but there's no money here usually, let's be honest.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just a group of friends. Sometimes though, you can... Some of them do pay actors, but they don't pay them well. It's like minimum wage.
You're not getting the best and brightest of your local acting community, probably. Mm-hmm. So these films, what they have to do, if they're going to make it work, is have actors play roles they're comfortable in.
Yeah.
Don't ask them to stretch themselves, basically. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I've seen in the films that have gotten it wrong. We actually saw this in a couple of films we watched, is they will use people in just the wrong roles. You take someone who's cocky and confident and give him a demure role, or take someone who's unsure about speaking in front of a camera and try to make them a cocky asshole.
Right.
It doesn't work.
No. It
comes across as immediately artificial.
Yeah.
If you've got a friend who's a cocky jackass, give him a cocky jackass role.
Hi, Jonathan.
Whatever do you mean by that? But yeah, give people roles that fit their natural personality. Keep the quote-unquote acting to a minimum.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you have a large enough staff, you're going to get lucky and you're going to get a few great actors just by sheer chance.
Yeah.
It's almost inevitable.
Right.
But most of your stock and trade, most of your line and most of your run-of-the-mill actors are just going to be everyday people.
Yeah.
They're not going to be thespians.
No. And you're going to want them to be those second tier or third tier actors who don't get a lot of time with the customer and don't get speaking roles. Because delivering a line wrong can pull a person out of the experience immediately.
We watched a couple of films. There was one in which I'm trying to remember the name of it now. It was an anthology series, and one of the stories featured 4 girls, quote-unquote, camping and talking. And it's like, all 4 of these girls had the wrong roles.
Not only did they have the wrong roles, but they were supposed to be teenagers, and they were obviously
all in their 30s. And they're all probably older than us.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, there was a lot wrong with it, but it was just frustrating because it's like, okay, I can tell that one is normally the cocky one, so why is she playing the unsure one?
Right, exactly.
This one here is the quiet one. Why is she playing the noisy brat? What's going on here? It's like they played musical chairs with the roles and everyone lost.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
It just did not work, and that segment had a lot of other problems with it too.
The whole movie did.
Yeah, fair enough. But still, this seems super obvious, and this is something like I think every single acting seminar we've gone to, like HauntCon and Halloween and Haunt Fest, etc., I think every single one of them have covered exactly this idea.
Right.
Or some variation of it.
Yeah.
Is to use their own personality and work with the personality, not against it.
Right.
But we still see it done so wrong in the movies, especially, but also in haunts, too.
Yeah, and I know that because we don't really have an actor trainer here.
Well, we do now, actually.
We do now, but in the past we have not. So that's one of the things I struggle to do.
I know, we have an actual professional actor doing the training.
Yes, but in the past, especially with new people who I didn't know very well, it was, you get to be this role.
Yeah.
And sometimes it worked. A lot of the time, most of the times, they didn't do the best.
And we made some really critical mistakes. Like, sometimes you can't predict it. Like, you sit there and you work with someone and talk to them.
Right.
And you don't know what their personality's going to be like inside the haunt.
Well, that a lot of
sometimes.
people I have found do not know their own strengths.
That is very true.
Like, it was so frustrating because we had this one kid who was just creepy. He was creepy by himself.
Yeah.
He insisted on wearing a mask and doing nothing.
He had that whole, like, Kitty Norman Bates thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, he was really creepy.
He creeped me out just by being in the room with me.
Exactly.
It's like, dude, can you turn around?
Yeah.
Can you, like, not look at me?
Yeah. Yes, he made people uncomfortable, and I feel bad for him in his personal life. But he would have worked great in a haunt, but he would never agree to do that role.
And we had one kid we misused pretty bad. I remember this because he actually helped us a great deal with the build that year, but he was quiet, he was demure, he was very... And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to stick him in the cage role where he's pleading for help because he seemed like someone who needed a retreat space and would be more comfortable there. The kid got in the haunt, he just let the fuck loose. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He tore the crap out of our cage trying to break out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was nuts, and I really wish we'd used him in a bigger space where he could have done more now, but he was good. I mean, so that is part of it, is you don't always know what someone's personality is like when they're haunting, but you should be able to figure that out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And when you do...
Make adjustments.
Make adjustments.
Yeah.
Seriously. And I think you should be doing that with your films, too, if you're shooting a movie.
No kidding.
If you realize that girl is uncomfortable delivering lines, switch her up with the other person. Mm-hmm. Just bite the bullet on that one. I'm sorry if you lose some footage.
Yeah.
All right. Now, this one is almost 100% across the board in the movies we enjoyed. It's the use of levity as some trope. Mm-hmm. Who was it that said it, Crystal? I'm sure you're going to remind me.
I've already put in the notes for you.
Oh yeah, John Flamboy, Zombie Army. You're right. John Flamboy. You're right. Okay, you're good. He said, you can't scare everybody, but you can entertain everybody.
Right.
And that is such a good way to think about it.
Right.
It's one of my favorite quotes about haunting, period, because you're going to have people like me and Crystal who are so at home on a haunted attraction that I'm not saying we can't get got, we can't get startled. That's demonstrably untrue. But we're not going to be shrieking and peeing on the floor and, you know what I mean? We can be startled, but we're not going to be like your highlight of the night scare.
Right.
Just sorry. But we can be mercilessly entertained. Mm-hmm. And that's why we go to haunts, is to be entertained.
Right.
And this is something that low-budget horror does. When it does it well, it works so wonderfully. It does it by mixing humor and some films' titillation with the scares. Mm-hmm. Watch a good film. It's not just murder, murder, gore, murder, murder, gore, 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 murder, torture, murder, gore, murder, torture. It's not that.
No.
It's usually, you got to start with a murder. You got to lead off with something scary and murder. Mm-hmm. But then you've got to have a little downtime. You got to do some build-up, maybe some exposition. Yeah. Then you have a little humor. Maybe you bring in the humorous sidekick or something. Right. Then you have another murder or something scary happen. And then everyone has a laugh about it. Then maybe you have some titillation, some TNA sequences. Then more murders.
Yeah. Then
more levity. And then you start building toward your climax and it becomes more of a murder rampage.
Yeah. Now, sometimes, though, low-budget horrors do get this wrong because they start out with a bunch of exposition.
Oh, yeah.
And I hate that.
Yes.
Or the titles at the beginning while you see someone driving, you're looking, it's a POV out the window. I think it was 14 minutes, the first 14 minutes.
Yeah, talking about Mount of the Hands of Fate.
No, actually, that's another good one. I was talking about Birdemic.
Oh God, help us. What is it with crappy horror movies that start out with driving sequences that go on just way too long?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just realized that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, that's something, though, that, it didn't... That is a movie that got pretty much nothing right.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is actually pulling a page from Shakespeare's book more than it is low-budget horror. Mm-hmm. If you watch Shakespeare's dramas in particular, you will find that every single one begins either with a sex scene or an action scene.
Right.
Pretty much right off the bat. I think that's true for his comedies, too. Something happens right off the bat. And the reason is because back then, this was the Globe Theaters, back in old-timey England. You had a boisterous crowd. You got to get them assholes in their seat.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Something happening on stage right away is a pretty good seat filler. It puts the butts in seats, so then you can go into a little of the exposition and start, building your plot.
Exactly. If you're going to have exposition at the haunt, do most of it at the beginning while people are waiting in line.
Yeah. But yeah, and the main point here is to, I guess start off strong, but I don't understand why some haunts seem to think laughter is a bad thing to have in a haunt.
Yeah.
I've heard this, they're laughing. We can't have that. We want them screaming. Mm-hmm. We want them peeing themselves and pooping themselves. We want feces all over the place.
That just sounds like a horrible thing to have to clean up, honestly.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Laughter's not bad. First off, it does that entertainment thing. Yeah. You can entertain people. Laughter is entertaining as hell. Right. Second, it gets people to lower their guard. If it's murder, gore, murder, people are going to keep their shields up. They're going to become immune to it and desensitized to it. A little levity, some laughter, another emotion injected in there brings people down a little bit, calms them.
And also you have to remember that some people's fear response is to laugh. Yes. My dad's that way. Yeah. So he actually got some cred growing up because somebody tried to scare him and he just started laughing and they thought he was like tough, hot shit. So, Yeah. Yeah. So, but it gets people to lower the guard and it makes the haunt more unpredictable. Yeah. If we go from a scare of some stripe, like you got, a guy dropping down from the ceiling or whatever, or a drop panel or whatever, and the very next thing you see is something funny. I don't know what's around the next corner now. It could be another scare. It could be a joke. It could be anything. Yeah. It makes the haunt less certain what's next. And Japes actually did talk about this, too, about how he would go up to people and scare them, and he's got this tiny little, like, a toy chainsaw thing. Yeah. Oh, if I scared you with this, what are you going to do when you face the real one? Yeah. And laugh, and everyone has a laugh. The redneck, Japes, I can't do his redneck voice to save my life. You can't.
Which is funny, because I'm from South Carolina. I should be able to. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so, and that adds, a little bit of unpredictability here. And right. And I would say for a movie with a funny killer, to watch Thanksgiving. Yeah. Because Turkey is hilarious. Yes. And he's also scary. Yes. Or unsettling at least. And some of his murders are definitely deeply unsettling. Yeah. So, it's... Well, no spoilers here, but no. But that's something to consider, is to have one of the characters that is supposed to be scary have some humor to them. Yeah. Now, as we said in creating a villain, not so much humor that they're incompetent. Right. That is important. You can't make them a goof, a screw up. Right. You can't make no. Their humor can't be they trip over their shoelaces every time they chase someone or something. Right. But they can be a wisecracker. They can be, you know what I mean? Yeah, somebody who actually tells funny jokes that people want to laugh at, but they're also covered in blood, so they don't know how to respond. Yeah. Exactly. Most budget horror movies most movies in general figure it out pretty quickly that you can't just attack for 90 minutes straight. Yeah. The levity adds the roller coaster, it adds the rise and the fall to it. Right. And as haunts get longer especially, because, we went to a lot of haunts last season that were 30 minutes long plus. That's, that would be the equivalent of 1/3 of an anthology movie. Yeah. If it were actual film. That's too long to be constantly attacking.
Right.
You have to provide breaks. You have to provide respite.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people are just going to get desensitized.
Yes, and make those respites entertaining.
Yes.
Don't make them just black hallways.
Yes.
Please, please, please.
Do things with them. Make them funny. Make them engaging.
Yeah.
That's, we can't use titillation and sex in our industry for obvious reasons.
There are some who try.
There's some who try. I don't think it's a wise move for a lot of reasons, but we can use humor. We can use, other types of emotions. We can evoke other feelings, such as compassion and, things like that. Bring it down a little bit. Be willing to bring it down and don't constantly ride the gore train.
I agree.
And finally, focus on the unique. Every film we listed, we remember because there was something unique to it.
Right.
Like I said, we've watched hundreds, possibly I would even say pushing thousands of these types of horror movies.
Yeah.
Over 1,000.
We may have a problem.
We may have an issue, yes. We probably only can recall the name and plot of a few dozen offhand.
Yeah.
And that's stretching.
Mm-hmm.
So what separates the ones we can remember from the vast wasteland of the ones that don't? Mm-hmm. Well, they were unique. Yeah. And like I said, I threw Monster Dog under the bus earlier, but hey, it had Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
It was the Alice Cooper film. I remember it.
Yeah, and it was pretty.
It was. Jack Frost had a killer snowman.
Mm-hmm.
Ginger Dead Man had a murderous gingerbread man, which is flipping hilarious.
Yeah.
And it also had Gary Busey.
Yeah.
Yeah, these films had something memorable. Birdemic had its terrible effects and terrible acting and terrible writing and terrible music and terrible sound design and terrible videography. And you get the idea.
Yeah. Yes. And it was terrible, but it's not on our worst movies ever list.
No, because it was entertaining still.
Yeah, because it was fun to make fun of it because it was so bad.
It was a it was that level of bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's the thing. Other than your name, what makes your haunt? What do you have that's memorable at your haunt that others don't?
Yep.
Is it a particular character you have?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a big scare that you have? Do you do giant sets like Haunted Overload?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do?
Yeah. Why should I pick to come to your haunt over everybody else's in your area?
What am I going to see or experience there that I'm not going to see or experience at another haunt?
Yeah.
And that can be a tough question. I mean, sometimes it's as simple as, hey, we're the only trail haunt in the area.
Yeah.
All right, well, you know what? You got me.
Yeah, well, I mean, we went to the only corn maze haunt in the area. We won't do it again, but it got us there.
It did get us in the door, yes, it did. It very much did. So, yeah, and I think this is like the roadside attraction mentality.
Yeah.
Like, why do people stop at the world's largest ball of twine?
Because it's a large ball of
twine. That's why you stop there.
Yeah.
Is it stupid as hell? Yes.
Yeah.
Is it probably boring as hell? I've never actually been. Yes, it's a ball of twine. It's not just going to get up and do a dance for you.
It might roll away.
You got to push it real hard, I bet. But yeah, I mean, you have to make something unique, even if it's stupid, that people remember you by. In like 100 Tears, you remember the killer.
Right.
Bachelor Party in the Bungalow of the Damned, I remember the succubi in that very well.
Imagine that,
I know. Predictable Jonathan doing predictable stuff.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's one of those things where if you have something memorable that you hook into, it sticks around.
Yeah.
And we've even been to like entire haunts. Like I was actually reviewing our notes for our Atlanta trip, and we actually wrote down and jotted and dictated notes on every haunt we went to. And some of those haunts I've already, even though it was just last season, I've already completely forgotten everything about them because there was just nothing that stood out.
No.
There wasn't anything.
No.
Obviously, I remember Netherworld really well.
Yeah, I remember that. And the other problem is that we did so many in so small time that they all get jumbled together. Yeah.
But that's the thing is like we did so many in such a short period of time that it's actually a good test of how unique they were, which we remember. Right.
Well, and the problem I'm having is putting name with the haunt. Yeah. Because there was the one haunt who had the actual piano player, and we found out later that it was run by the local theater group. Yeah. in Atlanta.
Yeah.
So that was cool. And then there was the other haunt right next door that we had a terrible time at because it was completely unsafe and you had to like crawl in crap.
Yep. Remember that one? That was the prison themed one. Shoot.
Was it prison?
On the outside it was, yes.
Oh, on the outside, yes it was. There were things on the inside that was not like the ship.
Yeah. But yeah, long story. I mean, you're right. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But yes, seriously, it's interesting because when you have that type of hook, people will remember you, and you will stick around.
Right.
But if you don't have that type of hook, you're just one of the hundreds of bad movies that we've seen and don't even remember the name of.
Yeah.
So think about it, man. Think about what your hook is going to be, and now's a good time to be investing in making that hook, whatever it is. It could be as simple as a memorable character that's really engaging and a lot of fun to be with.
Yeah.
It can be as simple as, like I said, a unique type of haunt in your area. Whatever you've got that's uniquely you, run with it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's about all we've got this week. I think it times out about perfect.
All right.
Yeah, we're a little bit over 50 minutes. I think we can let class out today. Do you have any final thoughts?
I would also say when you're looking at their sets and how they design it, also look at how they light it.
Yes.
Because some of them have some very creative ways to light scary scenes.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Good point. Lighting in general in horror movies is an interesting art unto itself.
Yeah. It's My Party and I'll Die If I Want To.
Yeah.
Actually had very interesting lighting. I remember the green light.
Yeah.
For some of the murder scenes.
Yeah.
And
that one, like I said, that one was a really good one because it was also the Savini school.
Right.
So if you want to study both in practical effects,
right,
but also I think good character writing because it's one of the few low-budget horror films we've seen where I think the lead character behaved almost exactly how I would expect a real person to in that scenario.
I'd agree with that. Yeah.
Not like 100% perfect, but come on, it was much better than a lot of films.
Yeah, there are some that surprised us with how good they are.
Yeah. Yeah, we ended up, we put that one on. I remember It's My Party, I'll Die If I Want To, because we wanted the stupidest, schlockiest, make fun of-iest movie we could, and we actually ended up engaged the entire film.
Yeah.
And these guys did it all on a pretty minuscule budget. Once again, they shot it all almost in one place. It was a house.
Yeah.
Where a party was taking place. It ticked all the boxes we just discussed. So, yeah. Anything else? I know you're looking something up.
Well, I can't remember the exact name of the film because it's got a really long title, but it surprised us with how good it was.
Oh, I know the one you're talking about now.
It's a zombie flick.
Yes.
It's set in the hood.
Yeah. Mutant Zombie Vampires from the Hood, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe don't name your haunt something too long to remember.
And yes, you're right. Mutant Vampire Zombies from
I
the
got
Hood.
the order wrong. Mutant Zombie Vampires from the Hood. Yeah, that one was way better than the title would have let you know.
It's like, let's put everything in it.
Yeah, basically,
it was good. It was entertaining.
Yeah, basically, that looks like someone lost a Scrabble game and had to make a movie title with the words from it.
Yeah.
But on that note, everyone, once again, this is Haunt Weekly from Haunt Weekly at hauntweekly.com. We are on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Podomatic, all the places that fine our podcasts are sold and distributed. You can find us on Twitter and Facebook at Haunt Weekly. tinyurl.com/Haunt Weekly is our YouTube channel where you can find all of our past episodes. Give us a subscribe there too. It helps us out. Until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this has been episode 131 of Haunt Weekly, talking about what we can learn from low-budget horror. We will see you guys next time.